In this episode, we will be discussing what is relationship breadcrumbing, and more importantly, what can you do to stop settling for less than you deserve? Stay until the end to hear our strategies for radical change in your life. Hi, and welcome to Chaos and Chemistry, a podcast focused on having all the chemistry and feel-good you desire without the chaos and toxicity. My name is Legan. I'm a former counselor turned coach, and I'm here with my friend and co-host, Max.
Hey guys, my name is Max. I'm a relationship coach, helping people improve their lives and their relationships with their loved ones.
To learn more about us and how we might be able to help you feel better in the life you have today while creating the life you truly want, check us out on www.chaosandchemistry.com or send us an email at connect@chaosandchemistry.
All right, Legan, episode number 3. We're super happy to be here. Today's a wonderful, wonderful topic, and that is breadcrumbing, what it means to your life and what it's doing to you, right?
Yes. Everyone knows how it feels. It feels very dissatisfying. Like if you had breadcrumbs for dinner when you were starving, that's how it would feel. That's how breadcrumbing feels.
That's right.
Yeah.
Legan, how would you define what breadcrumbing is specifically?
Yes. Breadcrumbing in a relationship, we'll start there, involves inconsistent communication. So it might be off, then all of a sudden it's on. There's not real consistent closeness. The person may be non-committal, doesn't really know what they want. You might hear them say that, I'm just not ready for a commitment. I don't really know what I want. I'm just getting out of divorce, or I'm just getting out of a relationship. It's very low risk because when you're in a breadcrumbing relationship, both people aren't actually committing to anything. So even if you're the recipient, it's still low risk for you, even though it feels worse because you're saying you want more and you're not getting it. It's really rooted in scarcity. It's almost like there's a hoarder mentality around people and love. So a lot of people that breadcrumb relationships usually have multiple people that they're breadcrumbing on the side. They have side plates of breadcrumbs. You're not the only. You're not the
because
main...
you can't fill up on just breadcrumbs from one plate. That's right. It's not enough
food. Exactly. So instead of having just a really good plate of food, you just do lots of different side dishes of breadcrumbing.
And you're never satisfied. It's not enough. There's no protein there. There's no protein, people.
Exactly. It's not satisfying.
It is not satisfying.
Yeah. So you're just always keeping your options open.
Legan, would you say that breadcrumbing in relationships, is that like always bad? Because some people are coming out of a divorce, or is it bad all the time, or is it okay to be like in situationships? What's your opinion on this?
That's such a good question. What is bad, right? Yeah. So I think the better question is it serving me? Because you might be genuinely just not in a position to want to be in a full-blown relationship and do all the work that relationships require, all of the healing work, the self-responsibility, the risk-taking, the vulnerability, all that stuff. So you may really just not be in a place to have the capacity for that based on where you are in your life. And if it's serving you to not be in a committed relationship because it's just an honest break and that's where you are, then I think it's fine, my personal opinion. But if you're not being upfront with people and you're giving them you're communicating a mixed message, that's when I just don't think it benefits either person. And you kind of end up causing more drama and pain in your life and the other person's than you probably want. Because if you don't want to be in a full-blown relationship, it's probably because you want things to feel light. You don't want the drama. You don't want all that you believe comes with a relationship.
Right.
But what most people don't realize is these breadcrumb relationships have just as much guilt and drama and pain, if you want to call it that, because you're in this ambiguous state of not having clarity. Does that answer your question? I feel like I didn't, but.
Yeah, I think you did. I think you have to know what you want and make sure you communicate. And you guys have both agreed.
Right.
The problem is, like, if you want a steak and you're getting breadcrumbs and you're allowing yourself to get breadcrumbs, but you really want the steak, there's going to be a split in your mind. You're going to be in resistance to yourself because reality is not matching up with your desires. and you're always going to be miserable. That's going to create tension in your head. So you have to find a way to come to Jesus moment and realize that, hey, if I want steak, the breadcrumb this guy is giving me is not going to help me.
Yes. It's not gonna help you have what you want. Yeah. That's a great way to describe it.
So going a little deeper, Legan, why does it happen? Why does breadcrumbing ultimately happen in relationships?
I think any time we are settling for less than we know we want, and consciously what we believe we deserve, subconsciously that's a different story. But anytime we're consciously settling for anything in life that we know we don't deserve, it's all about fear and control. Is it intentionally manipulative behavior? That is based on the person. But regardless of whether it's intentional or not, breadcrumbing is manipulative behavior because it's a way to stay in control of your emotions, avoid closeness with another person, avoid emotional intimacy, avoid vulnerability, avoid all the good in the relationship too, right? Like the trust building, trusting yourself, a partner, being seen. You're avoiding the good and the bad in these relationships. And why would someone do that? Well, it's fear. They want that hit of attention or that hit of this person isn't going to abandon me. They're going to be reliable and be there when I need attention or just validation or I'm feeling lonely. They're going to be there. So you're kind of manipulating this person by not giving them too much just so they stick around.
Okay. We got to dive a little bit deeper, Legan. What you're talking from the breadcrumbing, are you talking from the receiver or the giver of the breadcrumb? Who's manipulating who?
Well, that's a really great question. I think the breadcrumbee probably sees themselves as the victim in the situation. This person's breadcrumbing me.
I want more. Yeah.
Right. I want more. But how might the breadcrumbee be unintentionally manipulative as well?
Right. What does the breadcrumbee get out of all this? What are they looking for? Yeah.
Right. And at the end of the day, that's what manipulation is. Manipulation is I'm doing something so I get something. It's not genuine. It's not from a place of generosity. It's some sort of strategy.
So the breadcrumb receiver of the breadcrumb is a strategy to keep themselves what?
Safe, not be abandoned.
Right.
Avoid
those feelings, avoid the feelings of abandonment and having to look at what the reality is. It's better just to keep on the treadmill of receiving the breadcrumbs. It creates a lot of drama. It keeps you occupied.
Right.
It keeps you in what is known, what you're used to, right? Because if you've been on and off situationships your whole life, that's what you're good at. That's what you've practiced. So you're just going to keep on repeat, and then you're going to find someone who's going to give you the breadcrumbs because that's what you're looking for. And then you're going to have go back into your victim mentality of being, well, he's the problem. Even though you found him out, you looked for him. When the red flags came up, you stuck it out because that's what the unconscious is really BSing you all the time. It really is.
Yes.
You have to see through its lies, the fact that it's putting you in these situations and then start extrapolating extracting yourself from that situation and not falling into the victim trap, because the victim trap will keep you stuck in these breadcrumby relationships forever, because the victim is always the only way to get out of things is through empowerment, through changing yourself. But the victim disempowers itself, doesn't want to change itself, looking to the outside for someone else to change, and that person's not going to change. So you're forever trapped in these terrible breadcrumby relationships when all you really wanted is a steak, but your actions show that you really do want the breadcrumbs.
Right. And that's a great place to start, is how is this relationship that is so dissatisfying, how is it of benefit to me? Because I remember being in those relationships and thinking, not really seeing that there was a benefit, but seeing more that I was the victim to them, that this person was withholding or this person wasn't giving me what I wanted. But really, it's a great distraction from yourself. If you're always focused on your next meal or your next hit of attention, you're just living in this state of survival and then relief. So if you're just in survival and relief, waiting for your next crumb, you're completely avoiding your own life, your own emotions, your own dreams, your inner world, because this situationship, this relationship is all you can think about.
Right. I do think that these breadcrumb relationships have addictive qualities, just like crack cocaine. I mean, the hits that you get, the highs and the lows, and then you're in the low and you need to find a way to get the high again. The thing is, like, if you eat a big steak, you're totally satisfied for a very long time. It's very peaceful, but most people have not practiced being peaceful or even know what that feels like. So they're not going to want the steak. They're actually keeping themselves stuck in the dysfunctional relationship.
Right.
So, Legan, I have a question for you. So can the breadcrumby be manipulative even if they're not intentionally looking to be manipulative?
I think so. And the reason I say that is because the more clearly you can see your own toxicity, the more, in my experience, the more motivated you will be to change. When you see yourself, I would have never seen myself as a manipulative person. I mean, never in a million years. I would have never, ever, ever seen myself as manipulative. But having the courage to see yourself as someone that's giving to get, or doing things to get something from another person without any ill will, right? You're not trying to hurt them. You're just trying to get your needs met. But that's still manipulative behavior. And the minute you can see that and look at it with self-compassion, maybe you don't know how to get your needs met. I personally didn't. Oh, I can just ask. Oh, didn't know that. I mean, that's like mind-blowing to me. And for a lot of people that grew up in chaos and emotionally dysfunctional relationships as models, they don't see how simple relationships can be, that having a need met can be as simple as just asking for that need to be met. Most of us grow up watching manipulation with it being called love, or with it being called caring. So it's really important, I think, for people to get honest with themselves. And honesty can look like, this is not my intention, and I'm still showing up in a manipulative way rather than an authentic way. Because if I'm showing up authentically, I'm going to say, hey, this relationship doesn't feel good. I know I'm participating in it and I'm doing the work to figure out why and how I can break patterns around it. But I'm doing this because I just really I'm attached and I'm trying to get this need met. That's being honest with yourself. And you can't really grow until you have honesty.
I
so
love
that's
it.
my 2 cents. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that the self-awareness of breaking out of the pattern is a huge step. Most people will never get there. Have the meta consciousness to be able to be like, okay, I'm doing something wrong here. I'm not the victim here. And the first step is acknowledge that I do have a problem here. I am looking for this. It's not necessarily to change anything about your circumstance, but it's to change how you're showing up and how you're communicating. Because we're going to get into how to fix it, but part of the being in the breadcrumb relationship is not just running away from it. There's work to do. There's how are you showing up, right? And breaking out of that pattern yourself. Your partner might not have the awareness to break out of that pattern. It might be impossible for him. But you, if you're listening to this, you're already really far advanced. You're seeing your patterns. You're communicating that you are aware of your patterns and behaviors. You're getting out of victim mode. And that is a huge step forward. And you can work with that to free yourself and really grow in that relationship. So that leads to the next question, Legan, which is, if you find yourself in these breadcrumb relationships, like there's a habitual pattern that you have, how do you go about fixing it?
Well, I love what you said about not just leaving the relationship and starting over with someone else, because that is not going to solve your problem. You have to figure out, why am I choosing this? Why does a lack of consistency, commitment, affection, attention, whatever is lacking in this relationship, why is that something that is familiar, that feels comfortable to me? I mean, it doesn't feel comfortable, but on some level, you have to ask yourself why you're choosing it. Because if you don't, you'll leave that breadcrumb relationship and you might find something that looks different. you might find something that looks like it's a real relationship, but mark my words, you will be in that relationship. If you haven't done the work, you'll be in that relationship feeling like you're settling again. It'll just look different. And so it's really important that you learn, how is this relationship a mirror for me? Where is breadcrumbing a pattern? So you can ask yourself, what other areas of my life do I feel like I'm settling? When I look back, and I'm sure the same way, it wasn't just relationships. It was friendships. It was my career. It was travel. It was money. I had scarcity bleeding into everything.
Yeah,
but
I mean,
go ahead.
I love it, Legan, because when you breadcrumb when you're in a breadcrumb relationship, I can assure you, you are breadcrumbing your entire life. Everything around you is a breadcrumb, because that's just one more aspect of your general mentality. Like Legan was saying, you breadcrumb your relationships, your career. It's in fear, right? So breadcrumb is created by a fearful response, right? So if fear is running through your mind, then you're always holding yourself out, one foot in, one foot out, not really committing to anything serious, and perpetuating, not only for the avoidant, but the anxious person too. The anxiously attached person is just as avoidanty, is just as one foot in, one foot out. Because if they really wanted a stable, consistent relationship, they would just find one. But they don't. They want this one half in, half out, because it's what they know. It's less committal. They don't have to worry about anything. And they can do that throughout their whole life with that partner, and in their career, in their friendships. It's just going to be a big mess.
Right. And really, if you want to go even deeper, you're breadcrumbing yourself. So our life is the ripple effect of the size of our rock. So if our rock, who we are, is formed out of a ton of scarcity, we're going to have this little pebble that we're throwing into a lake, and we're going to have this little ripple effect. Well, as your worth grows and as you start to feel more and more empowered, that rock grows. And then you throw it in the lake and the ripple effect is bigger. So, it's easy to look at the ripples of your life and go, wow, my ripples are really small. There's a lot of scarcity in my life. But if you kind of backpedal and go back to yourself, I was giving myself breadcrumbs every single day. I spent no time with my inside my emotional world, or feeling my feelings, or validating my feelings, or being curious about why I was doing what I was doing. When we're in scarcity, we're just always focused on the external, thinking that it will make us feel more abundant or make us feel bigger. So the breadcrumbing goes all the way out to relationships, career, all the way into how much time you spend alone with yourself.
Yeah. I think it's like a very shallow way of existence, because I did it my whole life, to dive into life's deepest waters, you have to throw yourself into the fire. And that fire is the fire of being seen, being vulnerable, showing up 100% committed to everything. It doesn't matter if it's your job, you show up 100% committed to that job. Even if you don't like it, you're still showing up 100% committed, because that's the mature thing to do. If I start showing up, well, my boss, blah, 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 and then I go half in, half out my job, that's a very immature way to live life. And I'm not even going to be very efficient at my job. I'm not going to like my job. I'm going to condition my mind every week to hate my job, hate my life. And that ripple effect that you were talking about just going to manifest all this anxiety and pain for me. I'm not jumping into life's deepest waters. I'm not overcoming my fears. And life becomes a wonderful adventure when you're willing to dive into its deepest waters. But playing this shallow game of half in, half out, a little bit of here, never really committing, to anything really, it's terrible. And my old life, now I commit to everything, Legan. No matter what it is, if I'm afraid of it, I throw myself into the fire, because I don't want to live with any fear within me, because I recognize that people that are fearful don't live very interesting lives. They do not commit to anything. They don't sail around the world. They don't jump off planes. Like, it's fun to go 2 feet into relationships. It's fun to deep dive into, is this person really for me? You'll never know if that person is for you if you're 1 foot in, 1 foot out, because you're never showing up. He could have been, but you never actually showed up, right? So you never got the decisive answer. Had you got 100% in that relationship, you would have known in 2 weeks that wasn't the right person for you. But because you played it half-ass, it's taking 2 years to get back to the same place. And when you get rid of this guy, that same pattern within you will just repeat, because life truly is a mirror. And it's mirroring to you that you're in the breadcrumb, half in, half out. You're not diving into life's deepest waters. You're not taking risks in your life. Life is passing you by and you're not living it.
Yes. I love that so much. And it made me think of our value system. If we're in a breadcrumbing relationship, we value superficiality. We value the surface. And a lot of us don't see that about ourselves. We think we're so deep. We think we're so emotionally intelligent because we've read books and we listen to podcasts and we've maybe, been in therapy. But real depth is being committed. And so if you didn't grow up around watching people and having a sense of safety around commitment, full commitment, then as much as you want depth, it will be a struggle to cultivate that in your life. And then what's interesting is when you look at your relationships, now when I look at my breadcrumb relationships, I'm like, how did that wasn't even good. That didn't even taste good. But it's kind of like what we were talking about the other day. As a child, you think things taste good that are terrible. I mean, nerds are like it's just like straight sour. I mean, your taste buds are like on fire. So like as a kid, when you're immature, you think things taste good that don't really taste good. And the way you know they don't taste good later on is that you try other foods. You allow yourself to experience a wider variety. And in relationships, it's really important that you're doing that as well, because if not, you will kind of stay stagnant. You'll stay immature emotionally, thinking something is really good, and then looking down and it's like, Doritos. Like the little bag.
You said
the little bag that has like 4 in there. It's not even the big bag.
The Dorito, the 4-chip Dorito.
Yeah, the like little bags you open them, there's like 3 chips in there, and it's
all
like
a lie,
air.
Yeah,
it's a lie. And 2, there are a lot of, you can be in a breadcrumb relationship and be married. So it's not just about a commitment. I mean, you can be married and have children and feel tons of scarcity and lack.
Yeah, breadcrumbing yourself and others. It's really because you haven't done the work. It's not about the partner. And that's what we're talking about, getting out of the victim mindset, because the victim mindset will just keep you egoistically pointing fingers and not looking at yourself, not looking at your patterns, not looking that you may have learned from a childhood. Your mom just taught you how to be victim-oriented, be in these half in, half out, very drama-filled relationships. That's what you learned. And it's just coming to the realization that, I learned that. I've been on repeating, practicing that, and now I have to get out of this.
Yes. It's never to beat yourself up. It's always to look at, okay, we don't do things because we're horrible people. The majority of us, we're trained, we're programmed. And so, that's where you always start. And I think that's what I love about our podcast, Max. It's all about, you may be having an emotional impact where you feel like a victim to this situation. But if you're an adult and you're choosing to be somewhere over and over and over, you have to see your part in it. You have to see how you're contributing to your suffering, because that is where all your power lies.
Yeah. So what are some things they can do concretely wise, Legan, to start making the shift beyond working with us? But just if you're listening to this, what are some things you can do?
Well, I think the first question is, what do you want versus what do you have? I mean, on some level, you have something that you don't want. And usually it's a lot easier to identify what we don't want than what we want. If we're in a ton of scarcity, we probably have low value and low self-worth. So wanting something is a behavior that operates from worth. So if you don't feel deserving, you're not going to believe that you can want things. So awareness of what you don't want, maybe start there, and then awareness of, well, what would be closer to what you want? And then what are your non-negotiables? Do you have non-negotiables? What are your standards for a relationship?
The thing is, like, people have their red flags and bad patterns, and I'm aware of it in my relationships, but as long as it doesn't cross the line of like badgering me or angry, people are going to be angry. They're going to have their traumas come up. But I'm trying to hold space for them and allow them as a mature partner, right? Without taking on the blame and pushing back if it crosses the line. Everyone's going to have bad days. Everyone's going to be upset. Everyone's going to be in a shitty mood. And sometimes it gets directed on you because humans do that. They project stuff onto other people and blame them for it. And that's okay, but it can't be every day all the time. I can't hold space for you all the time. So for me, it's making sure that I'm taking care of myself and putting boundaries. And as long as the person that I'm with is having self-awareness and they're working on their stuff, I give a lot of grace. The minute the self-awareness dies, I'd have to leave the relationship eventually, because without self-awareness, they're just a victim of the programming of their childhoods. And if you just look at their childhoods and it's a mess, they're not going to be able to break out of that. So I'm looking for self-awareness, and then I'm putting boundaries on making sure that I'm taking care of myself and nobody's really going too far, because I can only give up so much space, you know?
Right. But it's good to play around with it, because you're operating from worth that you get to choose. When we're in breadcrumb relationships, we are always waiting to be chosen. And so we're not thinking about what we want or what our non-negotiables are or what our standards are. We're just over there going, pick me, pick me, pick me. I'll be whatever you want.
Yeah,
look at me,
sacrificing
tap
yourself.
dance.
That's right.
Yeah, here, I can juggle. I mean, we're just trying to like be special so that we can be chosen. And so when you take that focus and you put it inward, those are just really fun questions to play around with.
Yeah. Are you choosing yourself?
Right.
It doesn't seem like you're choosing yourself. You're wanting someone else to choose you. But any desire that's rooted in fear, which it is, it's if you don't choose me, I'm a failure, or I'm going to be a loser, So it's a desire connected with the fear. That's scarcity. That's scarcity. If it's a desire founded in love, it's not scarcity. So I would like you to choose me, but I love myself so much that I know that if it doesn't work out, it's okay, right? So it's not an addictive process or validation. I prefer it, but if I don't get it, that's okay too, because I have the love within me. I can sit with my bad feelings and I can mourn this. I can grieve it. In 3 days, I'll be back and I'll keep looking for my partner, But as soon as that addiction and desire with fear, you're trapped. So I guess the first step of my suggestion is, of course, awareness is everything. Once you have awareness of everything, it's a matter of time before it all crumbles away, that limiting beliefs. So find the awareness, look around you. If you're living in scarcity in your relationship, I can assure you you're living in scarcity your entire life. And you're wasting time. You're wasting valuable time, because time is the most precious thing. And you should be on a sailboat, not in this 9-to-5 job that you've created that you hate, So you got to get from this to that. And it's going to require every day working on it, showing up vulnerable. I mean, it's a beautiful process. If you get on the journey is so wonderful of self-discovery, but you have to get on the train.
Yes, it really is. I love when clients get to a place in working together where they're excited about our sessions because they can't wait to learn more about themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that transformation is beautiful. From scarcity to love, people, and excitement and joy, and making life an adventure, because life is not meant to be in this grind of terrible relationships, terrible jobs, and waiting for you to have a heart attack at some age,
Yes.
Which luckily I saw it takes time. It takes time to see like the folly of the world system when you're living in scarcity, because everyone's living in scarcity. It's just what's normal. So you look around, you're like, oh, okay, I'm doing what's normal, but really you're slowly dying inside. So if you're slowly dying inside, have a look inside and see what's in there. And always love yourself, because no matter where you're at, if you have awareness, that means you have love for yourself. Love is like fighting its way out, right? By giving you that awareness. So if you're listening to this and you're vibing with this, you already have self in love with it. Then never judge yourself. Never judge yourself by the patterns that other people programmed into you. You didn't have a chance. I mean, at a 5-year-old, a 4-year-old can't tell his mom, hey, go to a psychologist, you're crazy. Right. He's just going to absorb it as like, I'm bad, right? So you were actually harmed as a child, and now you're just on repeat. So you have to heal yourself, but don't beat yourself up because you didn't get a chance to program you. Had you gone back and were there with your 4-year-old, you'd be like, why don't you love him? Why don't you give him kindness? Why don't you teach him love? You would give that person so much love and care and attention, right? So you didn't get a say in how you were programmed, but you do get a chance to change that programming right now. You just have to choose to.
Yes. Well, I'm glad that you mentioned programming, because when we say to look at your non-negotiables and look at your standards, if you're accepting a breadcrumb relationship, there's probably an already significant amount of shame and self-loathing on a real deep level. It might be pretty buried. And so something you can do is you can imagine yourself, you can visualize yourself stepping into this higher standard version of a relationship. And if you allow yourself to do that, and that could feel really vulnerable, especially when you've never allowed it or you've never believed yourself to believe it exists, it might feel really vulnerable to even imagine yourself being in this kind of higher vibration, higher standard life. But if you can have the courage to do it, what does that version of yourself imagine their life to look like? What are the standards for yourself in that version of your life? And what are the standards for other people in that version of your life? And you want to do both. You don't want to just look out and go, well, this is what I expect from everyone. You want to look at, okay, but what do I expect of myself also? Because if you want to take action, you have to get your nervous system kind of ready to be in the action of worth. And one way you can do that is visualizing. So if you can visualize a higher standard, you can visualize a relationship that is not a breadcrumbing relationship where it's really yummy, it's really satisfying, there's open communication, there's self and other respect, there's a lot of love, there's a lot of compassion. Those relationships exist, but most of us in breadcrumbing relationships, it feels very scary to even allow ourselves to kind of go there because we've never believed it. We've never believed it could. So one way to start dabbling into the depth, as Max was saying earlier, is to visualize what you want from your relationships or what you would love for your job to look like and what would feel really good. And then what tiny action could you take that is in alignment with that? And maybe it's just saying it out loud. Maybe that's the first step. Or maybe it's telling your breadcrumb relationship that you've been thinking about it. You know why you're there. It's not really what you want, but you're not ready to leave. I mean, that takes guts to say something like that. But
and it's true.
What do you have to lose?
Yeah. It's living authentically. Living authentically is recognizing it might not be the best relationship, but it's what's in front of you and what God has given you to work on. So why not work on it and communicate that? That's very powerful. If you were able to do that, holy smokes.
Yeah. Huge. I mean, can you imagine your breadcrumbing? Yeah, like, can you imagine your breadcrumbing some guy? I'm going to say guy because I'm heterosexual and that's my perception. But like, can you imagine I'm breadcrumbing some guy and he has the balls to say, hey, I just want to be honest. This relationship is not enough for me. It's not what I deserve. It's not what I know I deserve. But right now I'm settling for it. And I just want you to know that I have awareness around that. Yeah. And I'm not asking anything of you and I don't need anything from you and I'm not blaming you. I'm just telling you that this is what I've come to know about myself. Yeah. I mean, whoa.
Yeah, that'd be amazing. And I'm going to show up in a better,
Oh, better get my stuff together, And
it's really not how they respond. They could respond well, but it's really about, are you brave enough to start living in authenticity? Yes. So when you're brave, it doesn't matter what people will do or say. It's really just a process of getting those words out. And then if it goes bad, well, that's okay. Because really the main purpose was for you to get over your fears of actually showing up as authentic.
Yes.
The world, you can never know what the world's going to give you. In fact, you should expect the worst. But it's really the work is to free yourself of your own conditioning rather than trying to get the world to do something and behave in a certain way. That is a fool's game because the world will never give you what you want. But that's okay because when you're living authentically and you're speaking, you have such a wonderful love that it's emanating from you that it doesn't matter what the world gives you. You found it within you. There's nothing, yes. There's no limitation within you. You're just so joyful. It really does get to the point where you're just radiant joyful and it doesn't matter what the world does. You'll see it as perfect anyway. Okay, he leaves me, perfect. Okay, he doesn't, he's happy, perfect. Whatever is, and you're totally okay with it. And it comes from doing the work and finding that stillness and peace and love and authenticity within yourself. That's a great way to, Legan. I love that what you said. It's beautiful.
Yes. Good
visualization.
Good way to end it because you're not loving someone by accepting their breadcrumbs. You're not loving yourself and you're not really loving them.
Right.
Because someone that loves us is going to expect more from us. They're not going to allow behavior that is disrespectful or unacceptable in some way, or they're just not. It's not a control thing. It's more of, this isn't what I want. This isn't what I deserve. And when you do that, you're basically saying, without saying it, this isn't what you deserve either.
Yeah. You deserve better for yourself, than to treat me like this,
Yes,
really beautiful.
We both deserve better. And so
you're leveling up.
It starts with one person can start that. So if you're in a breadcrumbing relationship, I mean, it's hard to be excited about that, but I hope that today's episode gives you some encouragement that you have so much power inside of this situation that I know from experience feels very powerless, but it's just an illusion. You have extreme amount of power, and it can be the beginning of a very, very satisfying and juicy and yummy life.
Yeah. It's jumping into life's deepest waters. It's always jumping into the unknown. And for us that have been so trained on these breadcrumb relationships, love is unknown, and it's terrifying because we have to put ourselves out there. But I'd rather live in the unknown, that is the wonderful journey of love, than in the known of pain and scarcity. So wonderful way to end it, Legan. Thank you.
Yes. Well, if this episode resonates with you, please check us out on www.chaosandchemistry.com. And if you need help or you don't know where to start, book a discovery call with us. It's the first step towards finding lasting happiness, and we would love to meet you.